Yo, it's your boy Toy Town King, and welcome to the DPP NFE movie, guys. That's the only thing I can really call it, really. Don't want to say documentary, but I feel like movie is the best description I can honestly say. So yeah, we're gonna be doing an analysis, really, or just movie backstory for DPP NFE as NFEPL is finally coming up, guys. I should have had it open in the tab, but either way, NFEPL is coming, guys. So yeah, that's why I wanted to make this video, as you know, I don't even know where it is. What the hell? Wait, guys, give me a second. I'm just gonna go on Discord and find it. But yeah, not to make this intro too long, honestly, but yeah, NFEPL is finally coming, guys. As you can see, there's going to be one DPP slot, and it's completely different to last year's NFEPL because the old gens weren't really, finalized yet at the time. But now NFE has really gotten much bigger now, so we can afford to fit in all the old gens. But yeah, today's focus is going to be DPP NFE, which I'm a council member of. So yeah, we're going to be covering three main points in this movie. Obviously, the history of DPP NFE, how it came around, bans, whatnot, how the meta started to where the meta is right now. Secondly, we'll cover core mechanics, obviously, because Gen 4 is different from like the generations that follow after it for several reasons. I bet you guys already are thinking of some, but yeah, we're going to be covering the core mechanics. And then obviously the third point is covering meta defining Pokemon, how like the meta is in general, and basically my thoughts for how DPP NFE is going to be in NFE PL4. But yeah, if you guys do enjoy the DPP NFE movie, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content, more PU stuff. PU Open's finally started, so I might cover those games when I play them. PPL is still going on as well. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's finally start the DPP NFE movie. Now, firstly, guys, as I said in the intro, I will be covering the history of DPP NFE, but let's rewind back to 2019. Around the summer of 2019, NFE was still a private room, but I've been introduced to it a couple months prior. So I was playing the current gen at the time, which was Gen 7. I was having a lot of fun with NFE at the time. But yeah, I've always said it, like, I'm not trying to say I'm the reason why DPP NFE started, but they wanted to get their old gen started, and obviously I was always saying stuff like free DPP NFE. I'd love to see a DPP NFE be created, and obviously in due course I get a DM from Jet, who's the now the NFE tier leader. Now, back then he was not a tier leader, but now he is, so he's come pretty far in just a year's time. But yeah, he sent me a link to the freaking DPP NFE server. I'll post a picture there when I do the editing. But yeah, he just sent me that, and I was like, it's free, and I was like so happy about that because I love DPP matters, especially PU and ZU. I have a lot of fun playing them, and I was like, yeah, DPP NFE is gonna be a fun ride. So yeah, we started off playing it. I'm one of the original council members. It was me, Jet, Quag, SPPC. We were there. WMR came as well. And we have more people on the council now, like Hiss, Tack, Anime Sans. I think Anime Sans was here from a while back as well, but they came back now. But yeah, we started off with just like 4 people, and obviously day one of DPP NFE was probably the craziest day of the meta, honestly, guys. We had pretty much all these Pokemon were freed, and we obviously like just blanket banned the likes of Chansey, Dusclops. We also blanket banned Rhydon, Porygon 2, Cypher, all those obvious ones because they're just broken. Chansey just walls every single special attacker, even without Evian Light. Dusclops incredibly bulky. Rhydon just 2 kills everything, like nothing switches into Rhydon in the tier. Obviously Magneton as well. If anyone is to ask me what I thought like a Pokemon back in the day of DP NFE was just stupid, Magneton was just crazy, guys, because God, Scarf Magneton, like with Chansey as well, like the only thing that could switch into Magneton reliably is Chansey, and then you just boom. and Chansey dies. So like it was a very healthy Pokemon to have in the metagame. Definitely, I lied. That Pokemon was crazy, man. But yeah, Porygon 2 for the same reasons, just overly bulky and annoying to deal with. But yeah, as you know, we're developing the meta now. We started banning more things. I think the things we started banning after all those like first blanket bans were Machoke, I believe, because Machoke leads are just very crazy. Honestly, confusion is broken in the older generations because of 50% chance of getting confusion. So you either hit or you don't, and you know that RNG was just too much for this tier to handle. Machoke is also pretty strong 100 base attack with a tier with no Eviolite, which I'll get onto later about the Evioliteless meta, but it was just very hard to handle. We started banning stuff like Dragonair, Electabuzz, Sneasel for their offensive presence. Like this tier is like offense is like the way DPP NFE works, and like these mons were just overbearing. The lack of dragon resist for Dragonair meant that it just set up to like +2 and it won the game instantly. E-Buzz again, a very strong special attack in the tier. We don't really have dedicated walls that could handle Electabuzz, so obviously it was too strong. We started banning stuff like Sneasel, obviously because of pursuit trapping and whatnot. It was the fastest Pokemon this tier ever saw, and Sneasel's just a very strong one as well. I think our most recent ban that we had, which was even quite a while back because the meta is in a much stable position right now, was most likely, I think it was either Haunter or Magma. Fortunately, guys, I don't have like a log of when these things were banned, but they're all banned in quite near time, close to each other, because like we're still testing the meta before we release like this post, essentially introducing DPP NFE to the community. But yeah, this was just us just testing out several things, playing games around, trying to see which ones were broken or not. And I think yeah, definitely Haunter or Magma were the last ones to go. Like the thing is, Magma started as like a mon that no one really thought of because there were just more broken stuff to handle, like E-Buzz. E-Buzz being better than Magma for the reason of speed tier and whatnot. But yeah, Magma became like a really big threat at the time because Choice Specs pretty much had no switchings. Life Orb was very strong, even despite of its Rock's weakness and the lack of like consistent hazard removal. Like even the likes of War Turtle would take a chunk from you know, Specs, Hidden Power, Grass, or Electric. So obviously Magma had to get banned. But yeah, it was a very fun ride being there from day one to now. Honestly, like even messing around with the broken Pokemon, they were fun to use. But obviously, we want meta stability at the end of the day. So obviously, all those Pokemon got banned. Abilities wise, we banned Sandvale because evasion is just stupid. Really, really stupid. Especially on mons like Gligar, which had access to Swords Dance. So you'll set up Sand with Hippopotas, obviously, and weather prior to Generation 6 is permanent. So Sand would stay up unless another weather setter came in, which was Snova with its hail. But yeah, either way, Gligar came in and set up Swords Dance under Sand, and nothing could really kill it consistently because evasion is broken. But yeah, same thing applies with Snow Cloak. I don't know any Slow Cloak abusers, but yeah, we still banned the evasion like abilities because they're stupid. Sunny Day got banned as well because you know, Sun was just incredibly stupid. We could have banned Heat Rock, honestly, but you know how frail, like in comparison to the later gens, Sun was just too overbearing, so we decided to just ban it outright. And obviously, the items here for those specific Pokemon, such as Deep Sea Tooth for Clamperl, Light Ball for Pikachu, and Fit Club for Cubone. Deep Sea Tooth and Fit Club applying to Clamperl and Cubone. On Trick Room teams, these mons were just disgusting. To easily O-code things with super effective hits. They were very broken to handle. Light Ball Pikachu, again, to the same degree of these Pokemon. We don't have true walls, so like just easily just KO'd everything in the tier quite simply. And Reflect Light Screen just in like enabled so many setup sweepers to just not die because I'll explain it in the core mechanics and the meta like part of the video, but just a quick, you know, summary. Once you set up in DPP, it's pretty much like you start Okoing things, and the fact that like a lot of the Pokemon that could set up like weren't dying as quickly because stuff like Monferno is relatively frail, obviously, but with Light Screen and Reflect, it could take much more hits and then just start killing things. So obviously we had to ban Light Clay, so Reflect and Light Screen were less broken. But yeah, that's it mostly for the history part of DPP. Up till now, it's just been a lot of fun playing the tier. Like, you know, it's been fun working with a lot of the council members, playing a lot of games, and I'm really having fun with this metagame. Again, can't wait to, see how it's going to end up in NFEPL 4. Now, moving on to the core mechanics of DPP NFE. Obviously, guys, if you guys didn't know, Eviolite was an item that was introduced in Generation 5. So, obviously, this is a Generation 4, the one before 5, obviously. So, the most important thing I would say about DPP NFE mechanics is obviously there's no Eviolite. So, a lot of Pokemon, we'll hop into the team builder real quick, innit? So, a lot of the Pokemon here, if we look at them, we go down to NFE, like a lot of Pokemon don't have the bulk they would have in later generations, obviously. But yeah, NFE, DPP NFE, without having Eviolite, there's no true walls in the metagame. Really isn't any true walls. Once an offensive mon gets to +2, like no defensive Pokemon in the tier is stopping that. And just because we don't have an Eviolite, like in this metagame, doesn't mean there's no defensive Pokemon. Obviously, I'll give you an example. Marsh Stomp being one of the best defensive Pokemon in the tier because it handles the threatening Pokemon that is Monferno. Despite the fact that 70-70-70 is not like, would be much better with Eviolite, obviously, but obviously you have to invest in defense and whatnot to handle it. But obviously it has its resistances, so defensive mons do exist because they can utilize the resistance as well to take hits that are most likely 5-hit KOs, about taking 20% at least. So at least we have defensive Pokemon, but no walls really exist. No walls exist. So that's one thing you need to get down about DPP NFE. Because of the lack of Eviolite, there are no true walls in the metagame. So that means that obviously makes DPP NFE quite an offensive metagame because we have a lot of offensive threats to handle, like Monferno, Mischievous, Golbat. There's a lot of, I just named the 3 S rank mons, but stuff like Croconaw as well, for example, just another Pokemon that isn't necessarily like meta defining but is very threatening if it gets off a Swords Dance. But yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to mention, the Eviolite-less meta. The second thing I wanted to mention is no team preview, which is very important. Team preview was obviously a mechanic that was introduced in Generation 5 and has continued on since, but in Generation 4 there's no team preview, so you guys have to decide what Pokemon you want to lead off with. Now that creates a lead sort of metagame. Like the DP NFE cancel, we're trying to make like a lead viability rankings to get to show people that want to get into the tier what leads are the best to run in the metagame right now. But for example, looking at this team, for example, you guys have to think about what you want to lead off with. Like obviously it makes, like, you have to think about it like in terms of a team building aspect. Do you want to lead that just sets up hazards, which is pretty easy to do with the likes of Monferno, which is probably one of the best leads in the metagame thanks to its decent speed tier, focus sash allowing it to easy get out rocks and being able to taunt slower leads to stop them setting up rocks such as like Leron and whatnot. But yeah, you have to think about it from a team building aspect. Obviously, Monferno is a very common lead. And for example, I was testing with freaking Wingull lead of all things. Wingull is not ranked at all. Wingull is an awful Pokemon. I wanted to try it out though because I was like, what lead? Like, what way can I counter like common leads that people like using? Things like Yamna, Piloswine, Monferno. Those are just some leads to list right now. But yeah. No team preview is very important in DPP NFE. And now the third one is probably less important than the first two I mentioned, is obviously hazard removal. Hazard removal, defog is a useless move prior to Generation 6. A very, very useless move. So obviously the only way you can remove hazards is rapid spin. And we have limited rapid spin answers because the only rapid spin mons we have really are Staryu, War Turtle, like the more like viable ones. Like War Turtle is one of the best mons in the tier just because it's able to rapid spin and has good defensive utility with its water typing and its decent defense stats. But yeah, rapid spin is the only way to remove hazard. So that's a very important thing, guys. Do not click defog on a mon that gets defog in Generation 4 if you didn't know, because it is a useless move. Defog like lowers your accuracy. I mean your evasion, obviously. And I don't even like, what does defog actually do? Because it doesn't remove hazards. Give me any flying type really, Staravia, for example. Defog clears the target side. Like, it does clear hazards, but it doesn't clear your hazards. It clears the enemies, so it's pretty useless for you. So that's why like I had to mention that defog is useless in Generation 4, and that rapid spin, is the way of removing hazards. Now, moving on to the minor mechanics of Generation 4, which aren't as important as like not having Eviolite or no team preview. So obviously, the first thing I want to mention is no Volt Switch. So the only way you can actually like gain offensive momentum is with U-turn, which obviously isn't that hard to do because a lot of the good mons in the metagame have access to U-turn, such as Monferno, Golbat, Gligar, very strong Pokemon that have access to U-turn, and that's why these mons are relatively good scarfers in the metagame as well. Golbat not so much, but because it already has a really decent speed tail base 90, but Gligar and Monferno are probably one of the tier's best choice scarfers. But yeah, no Volt Switch, so the only way you gain offensive momentum is with U-turn, so you can't stop Pokemon from U-turning because no type is immune to bug like ground is immune to electric, so Volt Switch. But yeah, and the second one is obviously Explosion Self-Destruct. If you guys didn't know, prior to Generation 5, they changed a lot of stuff in Generation 5, didn't they? But yeah, Explosion and Self-Destruct halved your defense stats. So essentially, Explosion was a 500 base power move, which would basically kill anything that wasn't a ghost type or a really frail or normal resist. Like, let's say Craniodose. Craniodose would drop to an explosion even though it resists normal. And most mons that aren't immune, like, we don't have any ghost types really. The only ghost type we have really is Ghastly and Mischievous, which are immune to, explosion. But anything else would just drop really. Like, it's very, like, explosion's a very strong move. But we don't really have that many Pokemon that utilize explosion well. But it's just something to note that if you see explosion, something's dying. Metang gets explosion. One of the best stealth rockers in the tier gets explosion. Like, yeah, just be careful if explosion self-destruct. Like, it does double damage. But yeah, that's it for the core mechanics of DPP NFE. And now we shall move on to our final point of this movie, the meta-defining Pokemon. So, we have finally reached the final part of this video, guys, which is talking about the meta in general and the meta defining Pokemon. As I've hinted at before, DPP NFE is a very offensive meta game. As you can see with the sample teams, stuff like Rain, offense, offense, offense. It is, the tier is offense. There's no stall, doesn't exist, and if you try stall, it's not going to work out for you really, because not having Eviolite really makes up for, like, like, there's no walls. I've already mentioned it, there's no walls, so obviously everyone's just using offense. Rain is pretty strong, honestly. Like, we don't have the best Rain abusers. Like, Horsey does a decent job and Lombre does a decent job, I suppose, but it's not as strong as Sun was, because Sun had growth. Sun had Weeping Bell with a very strong Solar Beam. Sun had HP Fire. Like, Sun was just too strong, honestly. But yeah, hinting back at the DPP NFE metagame right now is very offensive, just because a lot of mons can just come in and just start kicking buttons, set up sweepers. Trying to gain as much offensive momentum as you can is the way you can succeed at DPP NFE. Using leads like Monferno, obviously, to guarantee rocks, and even though War Turtle is somewhat common, rocks will mostly be staying up for the majority of the game, because you can easily just slap a Mischievous on your team, which is why it's S rank, honestly, because of its spin blocking potential, making sure you can keep up hazards. Spikes, again, Spikes isn't too bad in the metagame. We do have Roselia with access to Spikes. You have stuff like Pineco, which is honestly pretty niche, so you're better off just relying on Roselia for Spikes, really. But yeah, looking at the viability rankings, obviously I've talked about the 3 S rank Pokemon in the tier, which are Monferno, Golbat, and Mischievous. Monferno obviously being here because it's a very viable Pokemon, very versatile Pokemon as well. Has a lot of sets that it can pull off very, very well. Lead Stealth Rock is one of the best leads in the metagame. Swords Dance breaks a lot of stuff. Nasty Plot breaks. Choice Scarf is a very good pivot with U-turn, so it can just always keep up momentum. Golbat for the same reasons, but it has access to Nasty Plot, so it can break a lot of Pokemon as well. Has one of the highest speed tiers, and its defensive utility is pretty nice because of its Poison Flying type. And Mischievous, again, for the defensive utility, we literally only have 2 ghosts, one which is Mischievous and one which is Ghastly. Spin blocking, obviously, to keep up hazards. Again, a Nasty Plotter. At this point, Nasty Plot Mischievous is just a very scary Pokemon to handle in the tier. Other big staples of DPP NFE are obviously the A rank Pokemon, stuff like Piloswine, again, which is a pretty solid lead in the metagame because it can set up rocks, has priority Ice Shard to deal with other opposing leads. Like Matang doesn't necessarily beat Monferno lead, which is pretty common, but any other lead Piloswine does pretty well against. Murkrow as well, which honestly has been underrated for a bit because we've had a lot of more broken mons to handle, but Murkrow's Brave Bird does a lot of damage, has a very high speed to even outspeeding Golbat. It's one of the fastest Pokemon in the tier. And yeah, priority Sucker Punch in a much frailer metagame. Murkrow is having a lot of fun. Honestly, he's having a lot of fun. But yeah, just quickly gonna talk about. But yeah, if you guys want to speak to me about DPP NFE, obviously I'm always available to play games, whatnot. I always enjoy playing DPP NFE. But yeah, now before I end off this movie, I just want to talk about NFE PL4 and whatnot. So looking at the slots here, we have 3 Sword and Shield slots, 2 SM slots, 1 Auras, 1 Black White, and 1 DPP. So obviously this video has been focusing on DPP NFE, so I'm going to be talking about it. If you want to get drafted for DPP NFE, like just like you want to get drafted in general, like these sort of tours, obviously tryouts are key. You have to show like some sort of dedication for the old gens, because again, like NFE has just been developing their old gens recently, so not everyone is sure of who are the good old gens players. Like you obviously have the mains. I'm not an NFE mainer, but I just play DPP. I used to call myself an NFE mainer back in Gen 7, but I'm not a fan of Gen 8. But that's besides the point. But yeah, you want to be an old gens player, especially for DPP, I recommend that obviously you watch this video, and if you're here, you're already watching the video, so that's one thing ticked off the list. Obviously, playing games, speaking to council members, just, trying to understand the meta for yourself, trying to innovate as well. Innovation is always key in the old gen meta. It always happens in tools like this. People bring stuff that hasn't really been explored whatsoever, like obviously you could experiment with the C rank mons. Like I think Charmeleon could put in some work, but it just faces a lot of competition really as like a Dragon Dance or Croconaw. Again, is a fire type. We were lacking in fire type since we banned Magma, and again, like Monferno is its major competition really, and Charmeleon is slower, doesn't have the dual stab that Monferno has, and doesn't have the versatility, but again is a one that could put in work and is relatively unexplored. But yeah, is the type of time in this tour that you can prove your skill, show your innovation, and definitely you have a shot of getting drafted. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where DPP NFE ends up in this tour. Some stuff might get moved around on the viability rankings. Stuff like Seadra is up and coming as well. Seadra is a very strong choice specs Pokemon, has a good speed tier. I even forgot to mention the likes of like Diglett having Arena Trap. Trapping isn't that relevant because Diglett is overall really weak Pokemon and it's really frail. Like frail by DPP NFE standards, which has no Eviolite. Diglett is really frail. And yeah, that's all I have to say for this movie, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. So at some points it does seem like I've had some pauses, but I don't write scripts for my video. Everything just comes from my head. But I did have some notes that I wanted, like I wrote down some notes obviously to talk about all of this stuff so my mind wouldn't forget what I wanted to mention. But I think I overall got everything I wanted to mention out, which I'm really happy about. I hope you guys do enjoy this video. I'll be promoting this video for anyone that's interested in DPP NFE. If you are interested in DPP NFE, obviously going on to the NFE All Gens hub is always a good idea for you to try some sample teams, see the viability rankings, see what Pokemon are running in the tier. Obviously, if you want to use like again, we're developing the resources at the DPP NFE Council. Obviously, we're going to have the lead VR coming, set compendium as well, which I've been working on. So yeah, hopefully that comes to before NFEPL 4 starts, so everyone can understand how the tier works. But yeah, not to drag on this video any longer, thank you guys for watching again. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content. Highly appreciate it. But without further ado, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.